Genesis 2 Museum. Okay. Genesis 2 Museum, in brief, is a museum that was created to document, celebrate, and archive the African diaspora, the history of Africans throughout the world, throughout time, and that's the concept of the museum. Okay. The exhibit here for Black History Month. We took selections from 5 different galleries in the museum and put them into one exhibit here to give an idea and an example of the different, the vastness of African experience and culture and history throughout the world and time.
Now, how long have you been doing this, and how long has the museum been in existence?
Genesis 2 Museum came about in 1972, around then, and it's been ever since, and the collection has grown quite extensively. The museum is going to be located on 126th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. We just moved there, and we're just getting the space developed for it.
Pieces. Can you give me one piece that causes that creates a lot of dialogue when it's really open to the public?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just quickly. So this exhibit here is the Barack Obama exhibit. Okay. And so what the idea behind this exhibit is to document, celebrate the first African American president in the United States, and the supplemental documents and such. One, it shows the history of Africans in this country. We went from being slaves to being president.
Right.
It also showed people who made contributions to bring that about. That either through the struggle with the Civil War, the struggle with Jim Crow, the struggle with voting rights to bring about the Barack Obama. We have an image of young Trayvon Martin there because we believe that Trayvon Martin symbolizes the new generation of young people fighting for rights and dignity of African Americans here in the United States. His death brought that about, got young people more interested.
Capture this here, man. See right here, I started to get into it, man. But this is not my layout right now, man. Please give us. I'm like in a hall right now.
Again, we chose these pieces from the collection to document Egypt as an African culture, not a Middle East culture. It's an African culture. It's in the continent of Africa. The indigenous people of Egypt were Africans. Egypt is just a Greek word. So, picking the African. We picked the 26th dynasty, Akhenaten and Nefertiti, because they were one of the most significant dynasties of the Egyptian dynasties. Not only did he create the first monotheistic religion of one God, he also was a pacifist. He was the first pacifist. So when we think of Gandhi and Martin Luther King, Akhenaten was one of the first pacifists in history.
And so can I just I jump in? And it amazes me that we focus on this dynasty. I'm like so in the awe right now, like my equilibrium is thrown off. But just understand what he said on the mono aspect of it. So when you see this, man, please do your homework. I'm not gonna give you but so much, but just please do your homework, please. I just wanted to
absolutely. And just one other point about the ancient Egyptian cultures. Western society documents civilized society and uncivilized society based on the ability to write a written language. And we see here that the Egyptians had a written language long before Greek, long before any other. Also mathematics and geometry and architecture. They were thousands of years before anyone else, even thought of those things. So they had math, they had science, they had medicine, they had religion, they had all of that in ancient Egypt, and that's why Egypt was, if you will, it was taken by other people and saying it was their culture.
Unbelievable.
But it's African culture, and when you study African culture, you have to study the Egyptians.
And so, so we give you sort of, like I said, once again, a brief synopsis, but this is just sort of a prelude to what's to become. So there will be no excuses about the fact that you cannot get to the mecca of where this information will be.
This next exhibit is Haiti, the culture and people of the African people on the Haitian island, of the island of Haiti. And the reason why it's significant, had to do with them overthrowing their slave masters, the French, in what came to be known as the French Revolution. And the French Revolution had significant impact on the slave trade, because if they could overthrow them, anybody could be overthrown. So Toussaint Louverture was symbolizing as the leader of the Haitian Revolution, along with others, but they were able to organize and essentially beat the French army. And the French army was a very powerful, mighty army, and they were able to overthrow them. So we have symbols, again, of the culture. Now this would be more for the artistic creation of the Haitian people, carved out of a single piece of wood. And you also see it depicting an exorcist, if you will. They're purifying this child. And the ritual going on, but if we can see the great artistic work in creating this sculpture, we could see that the artistic of the people, their art, depicting the lush island of Haiti, and so we see the lush park. But this is a typical Haitian painting: mountains, floral, roads, and again a Haitian marketplace. Again, the painting depicts the exchange that goes on with the Haitian people in terms of the commerce of the Now we're in the Sculpture of Black Africa exhibit, and these are examples of West African royal kingdoms, if you will, the Ashanti Kingdom, and you can see the magnificent. We would call these works of art, but to the Africans, these were functional objects. These were objects that were used for specific purposes. This is a chair.
But see,
this is a stool. This is But for us, it's a great piece of art.
To jump in, but it was the norm. It was the norm. It was the norm. So
it was the norm.
As you state, we would look at this and be like, oh wow, this is
right.
Whereas they did it, it was just so fluid in the sense.
In fact, we look at it as a piece of art.
Right.
But they did not look at it as a piece of art. This was all functional. This was all. It all had meaning. The two faces.
Down to the T.
it was all functional. It was all to tell a story. It was all to serve a purpose, to invoke good spirits, to ward off evil spirits, to guard against evil spirits, to produce so that you would have a lot of children, fertility, not only you would be fertile and have a lot of children, but your crops would have you would have good crops.
Beautiful.
So we see some other examples of other West African kingdoms, the Benin Kingdom, and the magnificent use of iron, and the sculpture, use of iron, and creating these images. But again, we look at these, we said, wow, great sculptures, but that's not what they were made for, and that's not how the Africans see it. These were made so that when you saw this, you knew who exactly this was.
Right.
The scarification, these weren't just lines drawn on the sculpture. The people actually had the scarification. Scarification was a ritual in the African kingdom, and it was done to identify, who these people were, what position they held in the society, and the length of time that they did. The image of the queen, the royal queen. Again, if we look at the craftsmanship, the face is alive. It's like they took a person and just made their face.
Incredible.
But this was done in iron. Long before they had the ability to work in steel elsewhere and all of that. The ivory and the elephant. But so the magnificent craftsmanship of it, but what it was, the function of this was that the person who was in possession of this was a high official, a person of great wealth and status in the community, or else you wouldn't have had this an object such as this.
So now I want to ask this, Mr. Clayton, and I sort of put this sort of like on Front Street in a sense, because the elephants,
right,
in this day and time, what did that stand for? The elephants. What did it signify?
The elephant was the significance of a mighty beast, animal that is longevity. The elephant lived a long time. As a powerful force, the elephant was very powerful, and the mere fact that this tremendous beast could be trained, domesticated almost, was a thing of marvel. It was also used. The elephant, the symbol of the elephant, was used in a lot of teaching of young people in ancient Africa. So they would have sayings like, when two elephants had a fight, the grass suffered. and what that meant was that when two mighty groups fight, the little people are the ones who suffer. So that was that. Over here we have the empire of the Ife. And again, we see the scarification, So, and again, this was done so that when you looked at this, you knew who it was. You knew their position in life, that this was a prince. You knew that fully grown, and you knew who he was.
Right.
So that's what the markings are for, to tell you who they were. And if you see some people from West Africa today,
that's right,
they have the scarification.
And I'm glad that there's clarification there, because a lot of times people, if you're not educated in a sense, you begin to think that it's a symbolization of anything of a negative being in a sense, you know what I mean?
Right,
but
exactly.
they have yet to be stripped of their culture.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Still
Still today. So it amazes me.
Exactly. And here, Cameroon, another Egyptian, and again, we look at this as a great sculpture in a sense, but this had nothing to do with art, and had nothing to do with a sculpture. This is a headdress. This is a headdress that someone put on, and they would put it on, and they would dance in the festivals and celebration, and it symbolized, again, you had the fertility with the exposed penis and the hands raised open to the forces of the universe to come out, and it's coming out of the head, it's coming out of the mind of the person.
And if you will, Mr. Clayton, I mean, just the mere fact that I can stand here and pick this up, right? But he said that he placed this on his head, right, as a mask.
Yeah.
Man, it weighs something there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no, and there's much bigger mass.
Yeah.
But again, the point is that, the fact that it's a mask,
right,
that was the function. It wasn't just, it wasn't decoration.
Right.
It wasn't art. It was for a purpose. It was functional art that their art was about.
Right. Right.
This is a queen's stool, like we saw the king's stool.
Yeah.
There, this is the queen's stool here. Here we have the headdress worn by the queen or king. Was the headdress, all the feathers, and again, in the African culture, this was a sign of great wealth and power to be able to have all these feathers and such in there. So it was all, to tell a story. The Congo, in Central Africa, we see the sculpture, and again, it's a headdress. It's not a piece of art. It was a headdress worn for a particular purpose. And that's why it was done. The white symbolizes, so it's the spirit. It's a spiritual one for the white, as opposed to the darker areas. But the white symbolized spiritual. Again, great work of art. A sculpture, no, but it's not a work of art. It's a headdress.
Right.
It's a headdress. It was worn, and it was used in rituals and ceremonies. Again, the cowrie shells, to us, they just seem like cowrie shells, but in West Africa, this is a sign of wealth. These were, a sign of wealth. Like for example, we don't remember or don't know that at one time commerce was not money but salt, and that's where the expression was, "You're worth your weight in salt," because they traded in salt.
So was it so can we at least say this is when bartering, this was all part of the bartering system?
Right.
Right.
Because the other countries outside of Africa, they weren't able to get salt. They weren't able to get salt. So in Africa, salt was plentiful, and so they were able to mine these big salt blocks and load them up on camels and such, and trade with outside Middle Eastern countries. And salt was the big thing of the day. Again, a royal figure carved out of a single piece of wood, so you couldn't make a mistake because you couldn't go back and straighten it out. You had one. So the person who would carve this, they might have had to do maybe 20 years apprenticeship before they would have been allowed to do this.
Incredible.
So it took them, that long to really become that skillful. And it shows the things of the mother and child. And in this case, again, the beadwork around the face and this, again, it wasn't for decorations. It was so you could identify who this was. So when you saw this, you knew who this was. And that's what it was for. That was its purpose, so that you can tell who it was for. And also they believe that the spirits would go into these sculptures. So they would have the beadwork and the ironwork around things. So again, the number of them and how many of them, and that they're on both. So it all told you who these people are, who they were. These are, again, West African images and works. And again, you know, Andy talked about, Mr. Owens talked about how Picasso looked at these and did his cubism. And they made him famous for cubism. And so we see that artistically, these are avant-garde in terms of the thing. But again, these were not done for art.
Right.
It's a mask.
Right.
And it's a mask that was worn for ceremonial reasons.
And once again, it was the norm. It wasn't the norm. It just wasn't.
It wasn't the norm. Yeah. Again, a totem, looks like a great sculpture, a great piece of sculpture, and all of it tells a story. The person on top, the design of the textile, the connection between the human and the animal was very much understood. That there was a connection between human and animal, that it wasn't separate. But again, as great a sculpture as this looks, it's the function of it. The reason why they made it is because it's a mask.
Right.
Again, they would put the mask on and they would dance in rituals and ceremonies. And so by doing that in them thing, people knew who it was. It told you who it was. This was the sign that told you who it was. Again, the mask, and the use of the hair and all. But look at the workmanship of the thing. And again, these were done by master craftsmen, not just anybody was allowed to do it.
Right.
And again, the same thing again, we see the Picasso cubism design and all, but again, they didn't do it, the African didn't do it for design, they did it, it's a mask, it's another ritual mask. The same way with the antelope, sculpture here. Again, it's done not for artistic sculpture, for the person to show that he's able to do great sculpture. It's done for a functional reason. This antelope was seen as a very valuable spirit. Again, the idea of the human and the animal, into a spirit. And so it was in the antelope was seen as a very broad spirit in terms of that. And so that's why in the metal work that was on there, this was a very expensive piece of art, if you will, that someone owned. We see here, well, going 125th Street, you're going to see the braids all day long. You're going to see them all day long. And again, they're here, all of them is for a reason. Each is telling a different story about it. But again, and it's two, and so you see the two faces of the same persons, the two faces and such. So that's the story that it's telling. But again, as magnificent a work of art as this is, it's still a headdress.
How about that?
It's still a headdress. It is functional. It was for a function, for a reason. Again, the same thing with the totem. The design told you the village, the culture of the people of that area. but again, and the function of the human and the animal, because the Africans, they looked at it as one. They didn't look at I'm human and the animal is over there. They looked at it all as one person, as one form. But again, as great as art collection as this is,
so in moving forward, as stated, we know that the museum will be in existence. I want to say, give or take, let's just say top of 2016. 2016,
yes.
Possibly late, 2015. And in between time, how can we, find out a bit more about, exhibits such as this?
Okay. Well, Genesis 2 Museum is going to be launching its website. We have a website now, but it's not. We don't have it administrated now to operate it. We're going to get that now through Sharieff program, and so that should be up in shortly.
Okay.
And it's Genesis2museum.com.
Okay. Beautiful.
And
beautiful.
And definitely, we want everyone to become a part of our museum and help to make this a very significant, important function in the life of African American people all over.
Genesis2museum@gmail.com.